In the ancient valley of Elah, two mighty armies faced one another across a wide battlefield. On one side stood the Philistines, fierce warriors known throughout the region. On the other stood the Israelites, God's chosen people. For days, neither army dared to attack. Fear and uncertainty filled the air as both sides waited for something to happen. Then, from the Philistine camp, a giant emerged. His name was Goliath. Towering over every man on the battlefield, Goliath stood more than 9 feet tall. His bronze armor gleamed beneath the sun, and his spear looked like a tree trunk in the hands of an ordinary man. Every step he took shook the ground beneath him. Twice every day, morning and evening, Goliath stepped forward and shouted his challenge. "Choose a man to fight me. If he defeats me, we will serve you, but if I defeat him, you will serve us." His voice echoed across the valley. The Israelites listened in terror. No soldier dared to answer. Not one warrior stepped forward. Even King Saul, the tallest and strongest man in Israel, was afraid. For 40 long days, Goliath continued his mockery. He laughed at Israel's army and insulted their God. Each day, fear grew stronger among the Israelites. Far away from the battlefield lived a young shepherd named David. David was not a soldier. He did not wear armor. He had never fought in a great battle. His days were spent caring for sheep in the hills surrounding Bethlehem. Yet while tending his flock, David learned something far more valuable than military skill. He learned to trust God. As he watched over the sheep, David often sang songs of praise and worship. He spent countless hours alone with God beneath the open sky. One day, David's father sent him to deliver food and supplies to his older brothers who were serving in King Saul's army. When David arrived at the battlefield, he heard the giant's challenge for the very first time. The young shepherd watched as the mighty warriors of Israel trembled with fear. He listened as soldiers spoke of Goliath's strength and reputation. But David saw something different. He did not see an unbeatable giant. He saw a man who was insulting the living God. David asked the soldiers, "Who is this Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?" The men around him were shocked. How could a shepherd boy speak so boldly when experienced warriors were terrified? Soon, word of David's courage reached King Saul. The king ordered that David be brought before him. When David arrived, Saul looked at the young shepherd and shook his head. "You are only a boy," Saul said. "This man has been a warrior his entire life." But David stood firm. He explained how he had protected his father's sheep from lions and bears. Whenever danger came, God gave him strength and courage. "The Lord who rescued me from the lion and the bear will rescue me from this giant," David declared. Saul could see the confidence in David's eyes. Reluctantly, he agreed to let him fight. The king offered David his own armor, but the armor was heavy and uncomfortable. David removed it. Instead, he picked up his shepherd's staff and walked to a nearby stream. There, he selected 5 smooth stones and placed them in his pouch. Armed only with a sling and his faith in God, David walked toward the giant. The battlefield fell silent. Thousands watched as the shepherd boy approached the mighty warrior. When Goliath saw David, he burst into laughter. The giant could not believe what he was seeing. "Am I a dog," Goliath shouted, "that you come at me with sticks?" He mocked David and cursed him, but David did not flinch. He did not run. He did not hesitate. Instead, he looked directly at the giant and spoke words that would be remembered forever. "You come against me with sword and spear and javelin, but I come against you in the name of the Lord Almighty, the God of the armies of Israel." The confidence in David's voice stunned everyone. He knew something that Goliath did not. The battle was never about size. It was never about strength. It was never about weapons. The battle belonged to God. As Goliath moved forward, David began to run toward him. The giant expected fear. Instead, he saw courage. David reached into his pouch, removed a stone, and placed it into his sling. With practiced skill, he swung the sling above his head. Faster and faster it spun. Then David released the stone. It flew through the air with incredible speed. In a single moment, the stone struck Goliath directly in the forehead. The giant staggered. His confidence disappeared. His strength failed him. Then, before the eyes of both armies, Goliath crashed to the ground. Silence covered the battlefield. The impossible had happened. A shepherd boy had defeated the mightiest warrior in the land. David rushed forward and took Goliath's own sword. With it, he completed the victory. The giant who had terrified an entire nation was defeated. When the Philistines saw their champion fall, panic spread through their ranks. They turned and fled. The Israelites erupted in celebration and chased after their enemies. A great victory had been won. But the greatest lesson from that day was not about military triumph. It was about faith. David succeeded because he trusted God more than he feared the giant. Everyone else saw an obstacle too large to overcome. David saw a God too powerful to fail. Thousands of years later, the story of David and Goliath continues to inspire people around the world. Every person faces giants. Some face fear.
Others face illness. Some struggle with anxiety, loneliness, financial hardship, or uncertainty about the future. These giants can seem overwhelming, but David's story reminds us that no giant is greater than God. The same God who guided David in the valley of Elah is still working today. The same God who gave David courage can give us courage. And the same God who delivered victory then still provides strength and hope now. When life places a giant in front of you, remember David, remember his faith, remember his courage, and remember that true victory comes not from human strength, but from trusting in the power of God. For with God, even the greatest giants can fall.